Creator burnout is real, and we decided to cover the topic in this conversation. It's myself and my co host, Deborah Anderson. We call this Social Cafe, and we're also joined by Lisa Sicard from Inspire to Thrive and Martin Lindeskog from Tea Party Media. But we're talking about not only what causes creator burnout, but also we offer solutions and let you know how we're dealing with trying to overcome creator burnout. Feel free to leave a comment and let us know how you're dealing with creator burnout. You'll hear several tools mentioned, and of course, I'll have links to those tools in the description. But one that I want to highlight and bring to your attention is called Pin GPT. Make sure you check that out. And it's Ileane.link/easypin, because Pinterest is in the mix now too. It's getting even more important these days. And also you'll hear me give a shout out to my daughter, Nicole Purvy. Yes, because she reached 50,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And yeah, check out The Profit Door when you get a chance, especially if you're interested in the economy. So with that said, without further ado, on today's Social Cafe, we are talking about creator burnout and the always on internet. I'm your host, Ileane Smith. I'm one of the co hosts, actually, and the other co host is Deb Anderson. And we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are going to get them straight. So let me just start off while we get things sorted in the background. So, when we talk about someone suffering from burnout, we have to understand that creator burnout is unique. Let me give you an example. Now, I work a full time job and I only work certain hours of the day. And I think that's the case for most people who have sort of like a 9 to 5. And I know that's the case for my coworkers, most of them, unless they're traveling for work or something like that. Like you start at a certain time and you're off at a certain time. When that work day is done, you can sort of switch off and totally forget about work tasks or assignments. So most of the time, every now and then you may have a special thing coming or on the calendar that you have to prep for. But in general, you have a time when you can switch off. And actually, that's the beauty of having a 9 to 5. There's plenty of time to rest and rejuvenate in between rounds of work, so to speak. Now, I know this is not the case for everybody who has a 9 to 5. I'm just using that as an example. For someone who works a job, they have a time when they can stop working. They should. And if they don't, they definitely need to get another job. But as a content creator, and as the title of today's session implies, there is a state of being always on. Like there's no downtime, especially given all the scheduling tools we have at our disposal. Uh, there really isn't any excuse for not being visible. People will wonder, like, where's that person? Or a lot of times, because of, I'm using air quotes, the algorithm, you may not see someone's content for, a given period of time. And you may think, they're just not being consistent, or, unless it's someone that you're really close with. And then you may feel like um, that they are, I'm sorry, I got a little distracted because now I'm getting invites. Wait a second, hang on. Let me deal with the invite. there. Okay, Deborah. All right. Okay, and Lisa's in. Okay, Deb, how are you?
Sound any better at all?
No, it does not. It's not improved at all.
Yeah, this I didn't figure it was. It's got to be on the computer. And microphone is like a $2,000 mic, so it's got to be.
Uh, I'm sorry, Deb. I can't
That's
hear
okay.
you. So you want to try on? Maybe you should try on your phone.
Yeah, that's what I'll probably do.
Lisa, hey, how are you today? You want to unmute?
Hello, how are you?
There you are. So at least I know it's not me because I can hear Lisa just fine. Are you having problems hearing Deborah as well, Lisa?
Yes, yeah, she sounded very like canny.
Yeah, yeah. And okay. So, Deborah, why don't you just try your phone? I mean, it's not the end of the world. So, anyway, when you heard, Lisa, what our topic was going to be for the day, the creator burnout, what was something that came to mind? Is that something that you have felt or feel sometimes?
Yes, because I'm on pretty much all the time. I used to have that 9 to 5 job like you, and I
Mhm.
left that, God, probably not 7, 8, 9 years now. Um, and so I've been doing my business full time. So I'm on a lot. But today I took time off to plant some vegetables, go for a long walk, help my husband paint. I was outdoors all day for 6 hours and I'm like, my body's physically tired. And I said, oh, let me come in and just do a little, work here and see what's going on.
Oh,
So,
yay. So I caught you at a good time when I let you know
yes, perfect,
that.
perfect timing.
Yeah, and well, one of the things that I ran across, which surprised me, uh, was a short from Gary V. And that's why it surprised me because Gary V has, in my mind, always been like the hustle culture guy who, is always like work, 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 work. And so I was so surprised to see this short. And actually, I was very delighted. And let me see if I can put it up in the nest. Yeah. Oh, it let me put something in the nest. So it's being wonky because it actually let me share it. There you go. And so this was Gary saying how to deal with creative burnout. And he must have had like an on the fly interview with someone. I don't know, it was a short. So I don't know the venue or anything like that. So I'm kind of just going to give you a summary of what he was saying. Although I do highly encourage you to watch the little short because Gary V has his own swag that I'm not going to be able to put on his words. All right, so here's here's what this is not word for word, but pretty much. So he said the reason so many people burn out is they don't realize why they're doing it, meaning doing the content. When you're doing it just for affirmation from other people, of course you're going to burn out. When you're doing it for money, of course you're going to burn out. And when you're doing it for fame, of course you're going to burn out. And I think people need to balance understanding why they're doing the content. So when you start doing it because you enjoy it, when you're doing it because you want to make people on the other side of the screen happy, and then the interviewer says, but people were criticizing me. And I love his comeback. He says, when you start realizing that people that are criticizing what you're doing, it comes from a place of hurt. And you have to start having compassion for them versus imposter syndrome for yourself. I would tell you to start having compassion for people that are leaving negative comments Don't believe them, have compassion for them. And I was so impressed with that. And that's why I tweeted out. I probably, the first time I tweeted something Gary Vee said in, I don't know, 10, 15 years,
Wow.
because I feel it's so true. People, let's go back to the beginning of what he said. People, they don't really know, they don't realize why they're doing something. Like, in other words, you start creating content, and after a while, you've been creating content so long, and you start to run out of ideas, you start to lose motivation, maybe your personal interests have changed and all those kinds of things. And so you you start, getting burnt out, and then you you lose your motivation. And then after a while, you just like forget why you why you were even doing it to begin with. And you're addicted. And that's the word I was looking for. You get addicted to creating content. And that's, can you admit that, Lisa, that sometimes you feel like, I'm just doing this because I like, I'm wanting some likes, or I want some attention, or I want some, has that ever happened to you?
Well, I think I get addicted to it because if I have like new information, like this morning, I did this post about Pinterest because I helped someone with their account and then someone else asked me about it. And so I said, oh, I really got to get this content out there, you know? And so sometimes that's usually my motivation, is if there's something new on my niche, you know?
Right. Oh, could you tell me about the Pinterest? Because actually, yesterday, the topic of our Logi session was all about Pinterest. So
Ah,
that's top of mind. Yeah. So tell
yeah.
me what
So,
the situation was.
yeah. So I had learned because my Pinterest was doing well for a while. I was doing lots of pins, doing lots of different things, videos, carousels, etc. And I had a client that I work on, and she has a jewelry store, and hers does very well. And I was doing hers like 3 times a week, putting different posts up. And all of a sudden, I noticed the traffic starting not to be as good for her, but mine totally tanked, like upside down, really
Oh,
tanked. So I went to Grok and I said, Grok, can you tell me why my Pinterest account is so far down? What happened? What changed? And so it came back and it said, you really have to stick to your niche. You have to get rid of your boards that aren't relevant to your niche anymore. And so that made me realize, wait a minute, that's just like all the other social networks today. Everything
mhm.
you do is going to be in a niche. And if it's not, it doesn't get caught by the algorithms and it doesn't show to the right people or it doesn't show at all. The visibility goes way down. So immediately I began working with Grok saying, okay, which boards to delete? And it went through and told me which ones to delete. And I did it. I was a little nervous because I don't like, doing deletions like that. You could archive, though. If you didn't want to delete, you could also archive, which I learned in my research for the post I did this morning. But I
Awesome.
deleted, and within like 4 days, my results turned total back. Like everything was way up. My impressions were up, my clicks were up, everything was up. My traffic to Pinterest from to my blog was up,
Oh,
in just a matter of days.
isn't that amazing? Well, honestly, I'm so glad you brought this up, because, we have a long time been on Pinterest, right? You and I both,
Yes, yeah.
especially back in the blogging days. And I must have 25, anywhere between 25 and 40 boards that are blogging related,
Yep.
right? How to blog, when to blog, blogging for business, blogging for this,
Right.
autism
You
blog,
pivoted.
this for blogging. I mean, and now that I'm doing more of the affiliate stuff, and my LTK, my Amazon, my YouTube shopping stuff, all that stuff, and those new boards that I've made, I always keep wondering, should I remove all those old boards, or should I just start a whole new account? Because
Mm.
because
I would
I
remove.
I know, but then well, okay, so what happens to all those pins? Like you leave all because a lot of those boards were group boards. In fact, I'm sure you and I probably were on at least a dozen of them that were on the
Yes, and
same.
I left a lot of group boards too. When I did the deletion, and they were group boards that were irrelevant to my niche, which was
Mhm,
only SEO, blogging, and social media for Inspire to Thrive. I ended
mhm.
up deleting, requested, or I just unjoined. What was the word? I forget the word.
You can
You
remove
can
yourself
leave. You
from
can
it.
leave.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's called leave. Yeah, you can remove
Okay.
yourself or leave the boards, the group boards. So I did that too. And I stayed in a few that were my niche because I didn't want to, totally go crazy. But I
Right.
probably had over a hundred boards between everything. I had stuff for real estate for clients. I had, I think the only one I kept was my cute dog because I always talk about my dog even on my blog. I might
That's
have kept that one or I archived it, one of the two. But
uh-huh.
everything else, I just ditched. I said, okay, if it's not relevant, it's gotta go,
Mhm.
and
Especially
I had,
oh, go ahead.
and I had started other Pinterest account for my other blogs. I have the Small Biz Tipster, so that's all small business related. So I've got my own. I've done that for about 2 years, and then I started one for my rural area life because that's another blog that I really started doing the past 2 years. And so I did a Pinterest for that, and it also showed me how to make your description, your profile, how to make that better, how to make all your boards, the titles and the descriptions. It's all like SEO for Pinterest.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I see Martin has joined, and also I see Deborah has come in with her other account. Deborah, do you want to try again?
Actually, I was gonna
Nope,
try
still
this
not
button,
work.
right?
You're
Still
still
not
in the
working.
same. You're still in the same boat, Deborah. Martin, how are you? Did you want to
Um,
say hi?
yes, I say hi. I'm okay. How
Oh,
are you doing?
I'm doing good. And yeah, this topic, creator burnout. Let's hear from you. Have you ever felt like you suffered from creator burnout?
Yeah, it's depending how if you call it really like in a medical sense. So you could maybe be careful with the expression. But I could say that I almost feel that right now. After
Mm.
20 years as a podcaster and blogging since 2002, and everything's coming in your way with AI and so on. But I have found a way of balancing it in a way. But
Oh, so you have
I
some
would
tips.
like yes, and the whole tip that I have, it's more that is talking about that we should create more content. But I think, and I'm challenging myself there, and it's sometimes hard, but to, for example, have a weekly thing and doing one thing per day. And it could be that you pick your platform. I was late here, but I heard, for example, Lisa talked about Pinterest, and I haven't used that for years, but I still have an account, and I would like to look into that. How could I use it in a smart way? But I have something for every day, so to speak, and I have like a, how to say, a phrase or a verse or like a melody. Like Monday is open thread, Tuesday tech, Wednesday rap, Thursday is Thursday. It's torsdag in Swedish. The Viking and the Norse god Thor. And then you could ventilate a bit with your hammer. And Friday is, Friday following that I like here on Twitter. I don't know how much it's used nowadays, but and then Saturday could be siesta, and Sunday could be some reflections or something like that.
Ah,
And then you have for different platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatnot, and also of course your newsletter, blog, and podcast. But it's could be a bit still that you could feel burnout. And if you or as me as a new media advisor, like consultant, you want see the possibilities as a small business owner or whatnot to use social media. But I will come more to more that I could inspire others, and then I could direct to like experts in different social media fields and so on. So that's why it's nice to hang out with you guys. If somebody's thinking of video, I know where to go. To you, Ileane, for example. And if I know what Lisa's expertise is and favorite thing, and I know Deborah, we have podcast together, so we and you cooperate in different ways. But I am also a new media. I've talked about it, but it's not launching in America yet. So about new media alternatives like this that I've talked about, VO, value each other, that will take internet in a positive way, and then maybe it will be fun again, so to speak, and you don't feel the burnout, and you get something for it. So, but it's an important topic, so it's good that you're talking about it and see what we could, how we could avoid it, and so on. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. And I also want to say hello to Chep Kuru. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, there is so many different impacts of creator burnout. And one of the sites that I ran across during research for today is called Creators for Mental Health. And it's the number 4. So it's Creators for Mental Health. Now, I didn't tweet about this, so I don't have anything to pin in the nest. But I wanted to talk to you guys quickly about the study that they did. And out of all the creators that they surveyed, and I just don't happen to have the statistics in front of me right this moment, but 69% faced financial instability. 62% experienced burnout. 43% feel isolation. 89% have no access to mental health support. And so I think that this is something that hits home. I know for me, when it comes to podcasting, that is definitely one of, for myself personally, one of the areas where I felt so isolated. Of course, now we have this wonderful Twitter space. And so at least once a month, Deborah and I, and most of the time Martin, also get together and we talk. And so I don't feel isolated. But when I was mainly doing just like my solo podcast, I definitely suffered from like burnout due to feeling isolated, feeling like, especially if you're not getting feedback, people aren't leaving you reviews or what have you. You may share that new podcast episode or something like that, and you just get crickets. And that felt so isolating, especially compared to blogging. Back when I was really active with blogging, and you had the comment section, and if anything, you got too much feedback because then all the spammers would also come in. But even the community that we all built as bloggers, we all would comment on each other's blogs and all that. And so that gave us that, that feeling that we were like either on the same page, or every now and then maybe we would debate a topic or two, but the conversation was there, the community was there. But that isolation for me is one of the things that leads to burnout. But I definitely understand that concept also, where it says 69% face financial instability. Yeah, if you're using the creator economy to support yourself, or you and your family, then yeah, there's definitely instability there, and there's got to be a better way to do that, or else you will often suffer from that burnout. But we hear you now, so
Oh, good. Oh, good. No blame anywhere. We'll just say, hey, moving forward, right? But,
Yeah.
something that Lisa said that I thought was interesting that really goes towards the whole thing on burnout and a solution towards burnout. She mentioned, Lisa, you kept mentioning grok. And it's like, I'm not saying for or against AI. Some days I really I really go after AI on some of the condescending things she can say, but this isn't even about AI really, but the whole aspect where AI can help us not to burn out if we use AI properly, to help us alleviate some of the tasks that we have to do to try to get out from underneath that burnout that's coming towards us. We can get that help if we can use it properly, and that's a great example that Lisa gave us with how to get out from underneath that with grok.
Yeah. Lisa, I think I hear your doggy. And
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me put me off.
that's okay. It's funny because you were on mute, and then all of a sudden I hear this grumbling. I thought it was your stomach, and then I said no.
The
It's a
dog's
loud
disagreeing.
snorer.
There we go.
Ah, yeah, and that's one of the things I did want to also bring up is using the AI to help us with some of those tasks. And because Lisa mentioned Pinterest, and yesterday we had a session for our Amazon influencers, and I invited my friend Andrea, who is no, I don't think she's on Twitter though, but she's kindly dot connected, and she's got a great YouTube channel, and she's talking about Pinterest, and she actually vibe coded a tool for Pinterest to help with getting pins for Amazon influencers mainly, or people who are actually promoting products. Okay, it doesn't have to be Amazon. You could be affiliate for whoever, Walmart, YouTube shopping, whatever. And it's called Easy Pin. Easy Pin. And in order to check it out, you could just use my link and my affiliate link, and that's Ileane.link/easypin. And I'm pretty sure I tweeted it the other day. So I'll see if I can go ahead and put that up into the nest as well.
I love how easy that
And
is to
beg
easy
your pardon?
remember.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to put it into the space now because it actually let me. Oh, yeah. It actually told me I could share it into the space. So there it is. And if you can look at that, because what I'm seeing in the space is just all the text. You don't see the image there. Is actually some of the pins that she created to promote. I guess she was promoting the jacket, or I'm not sure, with the whole outfit, maybe.
So now
On
you said that
Pinterest.
she developed this. Did she develop it with AI, or were you saying that she
Yeah,
developed
yep.
it for?
She used initially she started something with uh I don't let me make sure. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. It's either Gemini Studio or Google Studio. Because I don't know the difference, right? But then she perfected it, or she took it to the next level, basically, and um integrated with Chat GPT. When Chat came out with that new image model 2.0, she integrated the tool with Chat, and she used Chat. I'm assuming that she used Chat GPT in order to do the vibe coding, but I'm not 100% sure about that part.
Because I use Chat GPT for programming, and I did that for my server migration. And I was
Mhm.
doing all the other just hand coding, and I use Chat more like a virtual assistant. I tell Chat exactly what I want to do for the programming, but it saves time from me having to hand type it out, because if you miss a semicolon, the whole program doesn't work. So
Yeah.
I can just tell Chat, okay, this is what I want, bing, 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 and
Yeah.
Chat can literally in 2 seconds have it typed up.
Absolutely. And the thing is, that's one of the questions that I asked her yesterday was how did she, build the software, and I don't think that she actually used Chat GPT to build it, but the replay of that session will be available on Monday. So I'll make sure that I ping you and Lisa and Martin, since you guys are all interested in Pinterest.
Right, right, right.
And I absolutely love the tool. I made a couple pins. I just super duper busy. Haven't had a chance to like really dive into it. I did have one that I used a combination of, I'm going to put that one in the nest as well. I used a combination of that tool along with Canva, because I actually added video into the tool, because you can make um, carousel posts are something that just does so amazing. I'm sorry, collage. I didn't mean to say carousel. You can make carousels on Pinterest too, but I meant to say collage posts do so well on Pinterest. And but I wanted to add video into it, so I made the collage with the Easy Pen GPT tool. But then I went over to Canva and replaced a couple of the images with video, a little short, video. I'm not talking or anything like that. Videos, and I just pinned that up into the nest as well. So I started with, it was a combination of using that tool along with Canva. And I find, even with the GPT 2.0 for the images, I made a couple of YouTube thumbnails with it, and it was good. The only thing that I was just like, okay, this looks like the same ones that everybody else is making. But then again, Canva was the same way when Canva first came out. Everybody kept saying, you could tell it was made in Canva. So I was like, and so what's wrong with that? But this was kind of looking just a little too samey for me. So I took it over into Canva and tweaked it up a little bit. So it just looked a little different. And I liked it.
Good for you.
But that's how it started. Let me say hello. Hello to Tatiana. Hi, thanks for joining us.
Yes, glad to
Yes.
have you.
So AI can be a very helpful tool to help us to deal with some of the burnout, and always being always on. Any other tips, Deborah? Before I have some that YouTube posted, I'll share those as well.
I think with the AI, there's a balance, because even with building all these, I have a whole suite of scripts now that I've used for the server migration. The server migration that normally takes 3 days, it's been like 3 weeks, because I've written so many scripts that now I think it's almost push button for the next server migration, which is good. But
Mhm.
you have to realize that, AI does not replace the human, and not just because it's wishful thinking, but it really doesn't. I mean, I call her she can be whatever gender you want,
Right.
it, whatever. But sometimes she misses things, or I mean, whole sections. She forgot to add the SSL for some sites, so they
Mhm.
were not, they missed the whole HTTP. Well, okay, I won't get all into geek speak here, but whole sections she'll miss, and it's like, chat, didn't I mention this, just an hour ago? And she has no sense of time, but oh yes, you're right. I'm wrong. Sorry.
Mhm.
It's like
Right.
this is a whole server, chat. You missed a whole big section, and now the server is down. Oh yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. And it's like this is constant several times a day. So you cannot rely on chat to replace you, because it's not a replacement. So as long as you remember that that's an aid, it's a helpful thing to help you not burn out, but it does not replace human beings by any chance.
Absolutely. And so I follow the YouTube creators account on Instagram. Hello, Avinash. Thank you so much for joining. And they have one of those channels, where they can just post to people who said, yes, we want to make sure every time you post something in your channel, we want to see it. And so they share some tips. Now, these are YouTube specific, but they're short, so I'll go through them. So, 4 simple habits to help avoid creator burnout. Focus on value, not numbers. Check your analytics to spot what's working to focus your energy there. That's number 1. Number 2, build a routine. Use YouTube Studio's schedule feature to stay consistent. Number 3, use community posts or live chats to test ideas first, then expand resonant topics into long form videos. That's my favorite one there. Number 4,
That's good.
set realistic goals based on data, not comparison. I love really, I like all of them except for number 2, which is build a routine, because to me, that's where the burnout comes in. Trying to build a routine. Like, for example, I post every day on my LTK. Now, LTK, for those who don't know, it's a fashion and beauty kind of related site where people can download the app, and it's a shopping app basically, right? And they're specifically shopping for what tastemakers and curators have posted on their LTK page. Okay, so I post on that every day, and they give us this content calendar, and I'm like, I'm having a hard enough time figuring out what I'm going to post today. I can't follow the calendar and post tomorrow, because once I post today, I'm like, whoo, thank God that post is done. So I always say you have to know your capacity. So I have a capacity for doing one post, not scheduling a bunch of stuff. But I realize that a lot of people don't work that way. People do batching content and all that good stuff, and I think that's wonderful for them. But I just, for me personally, that's not the one that's going to save the day for me. What about you, Deb?
I agree. I totally agree. But I'm having a hard enough time just, trying to do, I think, just 2 podcasts a week, actually 3, and I'm barely, well, I dare say not make the mark on that one. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and another thing that I wanted to share with you guys, I did a lot of good research, and some of it just fell into my lap. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to, and this is it's about creators, but kind of leaning towards like YouTube and maybe Instagram, and like I don't really talk about Pinterest too much. It's called Creator Upload. And one of the hosts, his name is Josh. He is from Tube Filter. So that's his site called Tube Filter. And he also has an award show. It's called I forget the name of it. Darn it. But in any event, um, he was talking about a study that was done, and I don't remember this. So I had to go, and I went into Ask Gemini, and there was a study that was released in May that looked directly, I'm sorry, May of 2025. So the study came out last year that looked directly at the effects of temporary social media deactivation. And it was conducted in partnership with Meta. And I do believe that the reason why it was conducted with Meta was because it probably was something that Meta had to do because, all the lawsuits and everything they've been involved. And it led to them saying that when people took like a 6-week break from Instagram or Facebook, that they had like it was just as effective as like having some type of intervention from like a therapist. That's how important it is for us to take breaks. But particularly, they were looking at those two platforms, and this was done with Northeastern University.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And so, and I just summarized it, guys. I'm not giving it all the justice that it deserves.
So that's why Apple's doing all this, like measurement of screen time and stuff like that.
Apple?
Well, I mean,
Oh.
okay, I'm sorry. It's not just Apple. I mean, there's so many different things that will measure screen time, how much time you're spending as far as with all the screen time between your devices and your computers and your iPads and your
Mhm.
everything and your
Do you
television and your
do you use those?
no, because I would fail if I really added up all the screen time. It's like I think you could add up all my non-screen time and be more. Well, I was gonna say press, but if you swap those two, yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Lisa, how about you? Do you take intentional time away from social media? I know Martin is
I do.
uh,
I do. I usually do not go on social after 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening.
okay.
And I've also tried not being on so early in the morning because I try to focus on other work where before I used to be on there at 5 a.m. if, when I'm having my coffee. And
Mhm.
so I've had to switch that up a little too. So I'm trying to spend, I guess, a little less overall.
But what about a days or weeks in a row?
Not too often. When we go on vacation, I may take, you know, a full day, but I mean, I'm always checking in a little bit in the morning or at one point during the day, but not like I normally am.
Good
Yeah,
for you
yeah.
that
The last time I've done that was a 2-week vacation, and that was 6 years ago that
Oh,
we went on a cruise. Yeah.
oh wow. Yeah, Deborah, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was congratulating her for actually having boundaries and stuff. I did notice when I started paying attention to my health, and it wasn't because I was trying not to have screen time. It was because the health thing. I thought, what's wrong with me? I was sick for what was it, 4 to 6 months last year at the end of the
Mm,
year. And
right.
so I was trying to figure out what's wrong, what's wrong. I was looking at all these different aspects. You remember this? I've talked about it in other social cafe events, and from doing that, that's when I started to figure out what time of the day works best for sleeping. And I actually found out that if I try to head towards bed at 4 p.m., and I know that's weird, but it works. I head that way so that like by 6 I'm sleeping naturally, and then I'm always like I'm wide awake at 4 a.m. Well, I don't actually sleep from 6 p.m. to to 4 a.m. But I mean, then I'm probably asleep by like 8 p.m. at the latest. But if I'm trying to head to the end of my day by 4 p.m., so that everything's done, everything's turned off except maybe the television or whatever, and that's when I'd be eating my dinner or whatever, and I'm up wide awake at 4 a.m. And I don't usually hit the socials. I used to, like Lisa said, I used to do it in the morning with coffee and stuff. Now I don't. I hit whatever work I have to get out of the way, 4 a.m. But I am so healthy. I'm so rested. I'm full of. I'm just very active. I feel very healthy. I feel everything is just in sync when I do that. When I don't, when I try to match my husband's schedule and I stay up till 1 in the morning, no, I just do not feel well. But that matches when I used to actually work when I was a CTO in Los Angeles, but I was on New York time because we had the market. Wall Street would open, but we had to be ready like 5:30 in the morning. I had to make sure everything was ready for when Wall Street would open. That'd be 6:30 for us. So I would start, and I had to drive a long ways. So I would get up at 4:30 in the morning to make sure I was on the 405 driving in. My days always started then. I could never figure out why that was no problem for me. Well, that's because my clock works that way. I'm ready for for the day at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I get up at 3, so
You get it then. You understand.
absolutely, yeah. And it was but I don't use an alarm clock, and I've been doing this for years.
Yep.
I'll say decades at this point. Because I believe that I started this to make sure that I had uninterrupted bathroom time in the morning when my daughter lived with me. And that's a long time ago.
Yep.
Because when she's a teenager, and even when after she graduated high school and when she went to college, she was still living with me then. And it was just like in the bathroom for hours. And it's so funny because when when me and her dad were together, we're talking 40 years ago now, but I remember he used to stay in the bathroom long. I mean, they're just in the mirror. They're in the mirror, making sure everything is right. It's not like they're going to the bathroom. But anyway, and her life is totally different now because we have Joseph, my little 5-year-old grandson.
Yep.
So, but it's so funny. I think that's when that started. Oh, those many years ago. And I just never got out of it. And because of that, because I don't use an alarm clock or anything like that, sometimes I oversleep. So, like for me, 4 o'clock, I overslept. Like, oh
Mhm.
gosh, I have to cut down on something this morning. I have to start making my coffee now.
Yep.
But and that's okay because I don't mind going to bed early because guess what? Ain't nothing on TV anyhow. And if it is, I'm probably already DVRing it and
Yep.
I'll watch it and fast forward past the commercials.
Yep.
But
That's what I have, this vitamin that I take. I try to do it every 12 hours. So it's like I have vitamins that I take at 4 p.m. So the other one's at 4 a.m. And I've never had to set the alarm for it. And I just naturally wake up at 4. And it was like, I don't want to wake my husband up at 4 a.m. setting an alarm. It's like vitamin time. Oh my goodness. He would be like so irritated with me if the alarm's going off at 4 a.m. every morning. But it's funny because I've never missed that one because I just naturally wake up at 4 a.m. And it's like, oh, good. I'll take my vitamins now.
Yep. Yep. And even if I'm in a different time zone, I still get up. But
Yep.
it's a thing that old people do anyway. So what can I tell you?
I think we all have a clock though, whatever it is. I mean, whether it's early, whether it's
Right.
late, whatever, I mean, my husband has a completely different one. He actually goes to bed at like 2 a.m. So he'll go to bed. He's like, "Are you gonna actually sleep with me tonight?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, honey, yeah." And then I'll like watch. It's like, "Has he fallen asleep yet? Oh good, he's fallen asleep. Now I can I
Now
can
you get
get
up.
up.
That's
It's
funny.
not against him. It's like he'll just actually drift off about the time that I'm fully awake. And it's like, no
Mhm.
offense, honey, but I can't lay in bed while I'm fully awake. I'm ready to like go get work done.
Get stuff done.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it is. It is like the always on thing. And I have not used scheduling tools as much. So for example, if I think it was Twitter or TikTok. No, it was TikTok this morning. I posted something at like 4 something a.m. this morning because I was just like, I'm not scheduling this, even though I couldn't even figure out how to schedule it anyway, because I don't really schedule on TikTok. It was just like, you should put, I was thinking in my head, you should post this later. And I'm like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm posting it right now, whatever. If people don't get it, they don't get it. I mean, I
I
just want
think
to
that
post.
that's helpful if you let things bother you less because I still have that corporate thing going on in my head where it's like, oh, you have to do that. If you miss this, you're going to let people down. And like, how many people are really going to be sitting there letting it bother them for hours that my podcast didn't go out last week? It's only really going to bother me. It's not going to bother the other people that much or at all or anybody. So it's like you're dwelling on this too much. This is not corporate America. This is, the same kind of thing. So it's like this whole burnout thing. I was thinking about that this morning before we got together here. It's like we're it's like overthinking everything in the frame of mind. Are you thinking about it as far as your corporate America job, or are you thinking about this in terms of too much pressure on yourself? You've got to relax and not schedule 24/7. Let yourself schedule things or relax or cut down on the number of things that have to be in that moment by moment every second of the day, 24/7, 365 days.
Yep, yep. And by the way, speaking of my daughter, I think most of you have seen it, but I shared a tweet where she passed 50,000
Yay! Yes, I put a like on it. Yes.
subscribers on YouTube. And
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. And for those who want to see her channel, it's called The Profit Door. The Profit Door. And she talks about the economy of all
Wow.
things.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
didn't click on the link, but I did put a I did put a like on your tweet. But yeah, I got to go
yes.
visit.
Thank you. Thank you. And it was so ironic because it was her birthday. She crossed that milestone on her birthday, which was
Wow.
yesterday.
Wow, happy birthday.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because she said, hope I hit it on my birthday. And she was maybe about 300 away when she said that. And I was thinking, oh, maybe she should just be happy if it happens to dad. Whatever. I was wrong. Yeah. She hit it and she went way past the 50,000. You know what? Let me look and see where she is now. But
I think she was at like
really,
55,000. Was 55 or 51 when I click
see,
like?
when I made that video, when I saw it because I missed it when it actually happened. So the video that I made was 50,100, but that was yesterday morning. But at this point now, today, she's surpassed that. But I'm just really, really proud of her. But reason why this is also important for this conversation is because it's one of the things that she did was she stepped away from Instagram, uh, probably more than 6 weeks. I would say 2 to 3 months of not being on Instagram. And I think when she came back, because at that time, Instagram was her biggest platform. She had way more people following her on Instagram than she had subscribers on YouTube. But I think that the Instagram, because she's a millennial, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Instagram thing was what was causing her burnout, not so much YouTube.
Right.
And I think when she came back with a whole different mindset and a different approach. And okay, so she's at 51,970. So she'll be at 52,000
Pretty soon. Yeah.
before the end of the day.
So you think she's getting a better ROI with this approach?
Oh, absolutely. Well, my daughter has always been into building her email list.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
For years and years and years. So she's, always doing these shorts, telling people, and of course she's cross posting it on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, say newsletter if you want to know the real deal. And so her list is exploding as well. In fact, I need to ask her how many people does she have on her list. But I do know whenever I look at one of her posts, there's always a bunch of comments of people just saying newsletter.
Yep.
Send me your newsletter.
I think between the encouragement, learning from like how your daughter has had such success, kind of regrouping there and looking at what's burning me out, what can I do for kind of breathing new life into what I'm doing, and the awesome success that your daughter's having, and also taking into consideration what Lisa shared about like asking Grok questions and saying, hey, how can we get more traffic and things. I keep thinking of what you said, Lisa, as far as how to bring more traffic to your Pinterest channel, and niching down in the whole thing, and how Grok could help you target what you need to get rid of, what you need to delete. Or as I'm afraid to delete things too, so it's like I would be archiving. That's what I would do because I hate the delete button. But the whole thing, and it's like those two things right there give me encouragement, because it's like there's hope for the future, even in our financial, the world we live in right now. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I think of when I think of your daughter, Ileane. And it's like there's a way to get there. And that's kind of what Lisa shared at the beginning, as far as there's a way to find our way and even get the assistance of AI. So there's different prongs in this story.
Absolutely. And look, we are like at the top of the hour, and I want to kind of remind folks, or if you weren't here at the beginning, that I shared something from Gary V, who was like the least likely person that I thought would be sharing something from.
And that was wonderful.
But
I loved what you shared. Thank you.
and I think this is a good note for us to like end and think about, for all of us, everybody here, as well as anyone who may be listening to this, is to not forget why we're doing the thing. Why are we doing it because we're enjoying it? Are we doing it because we want to make people on the other side of the screen, or the other side of the mic, whatever it may be? Are we doing it because we want to make them happy? Not just because we want to make money, or we want to have fame and all that stuff. Because I see so many people get caught up with this, especially the ones that are chasing that fame, then they wind up committing fraud, because they either have to go and buy followers, or they wind up ripping people off. Someone from my area recently, one day this past week, just got indicted on all these federal charges. He got found guilty, I should say, of defrauding people. And he probably started off with good intentions, but got caught up in all that. So let's not get caught up in, the fame and the money and all that. And remember what we're doing it. Do it because it gives you joy. It makes you feel good. And
Definitely.
if you may find, because we all change as we grow, we change, right?
And that's
If you
okay.
Oh my gosh, Anita's here. Hey, Anita, long time no see. Anita Campbell's in the
Hello,
Hi, Anita.
building. So we all have to, if we need to, pivot. Let's just say you wake up one day
Absolutely.
and say, I just don't want to do this anymore. You don't have to. you
Amen.
know, you don't have to. You can pivot. And I see a lot of people doing it, especially those that are on YouTube. They get burnt out on YouTube, and then they start to pivot. And just think about that, and always try to keep your mental health as being one of your number one priorities. Okay?
You called it, that mental health is more important than trying to please everybody that you think you're pleasing, but really you're worrying too much about all these people that probably don't care if you're doing 3 podcasts a week.
Right. Exactly. And we love doing this Twitter space with one another. And so we always do it on the first Saturday. Now, this month was an anomaly.
Yep.
Okay. But we'll be back on schedule for June, and that's going to be on June the 6th.
Yep. And we may have an anomaly on July 4th. I think July 4th is a Saturday, but we'll keep you posted.
Right. By June, we'll know what's going on with July.
Yep. Sounds good.
So we're going to talk about live, recorded, or written. How do you show up best? And so only folks who are here right now will know that that's going to be our topic.
There we go. Yep.
And so I would love for everyone to just talk about how people can connect. Lisa, how can people? Oh, and you've got your hand up, Lisa. I'm sorry. I just saw that.
Oh no, I just put my mic back on because I heard you starting to ask me a question. I said, "Oh, I got to put the mic on."
Okay, so how can everybody find you?
Well, Inspire to Thrive is my main blog, and also on X as Lisa Pat B. Those are my two places you'll usually find me pretty quickly.
Okay, and Martin.
Yes, teaparty.media is my main place, and I will do a shout out here also to truefans.fm, Sam Settis podcast service and application. So you could find me there. I'm pretty active there on truefans.fm and search for Martin Lindeskog or Lyceum. So thanks.
Okay, great. And Deborah.
Yeah, you can find me most places as yes, I can talk. Social Web Cafe. Some places as Deborah E. And I am working on creating a new space for us on school. But in the meantime, you can find us at the community site, which is found by going to socialcafe.net. Either way, that domain will redirect to wherever we are. So socialcafe.net.
Awesome, because I love school. I have about 4 or 5 schools that I'm a member of, and I like the way the system is over there. So I look forward to that. And everyone, if you ever want to find me, the biggest hurdle is knowing how to spell my name. Ileane. Ileane. Don't forget the A. Okay. And with that, we will chat with you again next, not next, on June the 6th on the next Social Cafe. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
all.
Thank you.
Bye.